Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Double A Team Podcast live stream edition. I'm your host, Stephen Nagishi, and along with my co host, the associate editor of Sports Web blog from Awful Announcing, it is Ken Fang. Ken, good evening, and thanks for joining me. I know we were supposed to do it last night, but because of my work schedule, as I'm on busy business travel
Yeah, not a
out on the
problem.
East Coast, we had to reschedule. The meeting went a little bit longer, and unfortunately, it was too late for us to do it. So I apologize for the delays and postponements and everything. So thank you for
Not
joining
a,
me.
hey, not a problem, Stephen. Glad we could do it tonight. I know that you know s- it's just to let you know that Stephen may have to leave on a moment's notice. So if that happens, we will cut the show short. But we'll do what we can and talk about whatever we can tonight. And
Absolutely.
we got a lot of things to discuss: the NFL, Major League Baseball, WNBA playoffs. The debut of the U.S. men's soccer team coach. We'll try to get it all in, but if we can't, that's fine. But
Hmm.
Stephen, let's get to it.
All right. Let's look back at the week 6 of the NFL, and this is somewhat of a tie into your Browns and what has happened. What that game, besides the game itself, has had some crazy stuff happen. Your Browns faced the Eagles in Eagles, and I happen to be in the vicinity of the Philadelphia area, and I saw the game pretty much from start to finish. I watched the Bears and Jaguars very early,
Mhm.
9:30 until 12:30. We'll get to that in a moment, but looking back at the Browns and the Eagles, and the Eagles were coming off a bye, and they struggled. Um,
Mhm.
Pretty much throughout the game. You saw the game yourself too, I'm assuming.
I
And
did not. I was at the game.
the Eagles jump out to a 10-3 lead, and then toward the halftime, they were driving and tried to kick a field goal, and then Miles Garrett blocked the field goal, and
Yes.
then the Browns scooped it up and scored just before halftime, and I could sense that the momentum has completely swung, and that your Browns had a real shot at winning this game.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, Ken, even I thought for a moment, Deshaun Watson, as bad as he has been and as critical as you've been, I thought he looked a little bit decent, just a little bit decent enough to keep the Browns in the game and moving the ball and toward the end. But unfortunately, your Browns ended up losing 20-16 in a very tight, close game. I want you to give me your thoughts on the Browns' performance, in
Well,
Philadelphia.
they played better than they had. As
Yeah.
you mentioned, there was that blocked field goal that led to a scoop and score by the Browns. Um, as I was at work, but I was kind of monitoring the game, and when I saw that highlight, and I saw that you kind of reacted to my tweet, I said, you know, there's a positive play, but I really don't know how to react because the Browns have basically killed me for this entire season. But it was a good play. It was a fantastic play, and as you mentioned, it was a 10-point swing. It was a chance for the Browns for the Eagles to go up 13-3, but instead the Browns tied it at 10-10, and then going into halftime. So that was a huge momentum swing. Up until that point, the Browns had not shown anything. They had not shown any heart. They had not shown any emotion. There was not any really big plays, but that play sparked them, and it did make it. We did see a better Browns team in the second half, but again, Kevin Stefanski made a very strange decision, Stephen. After the Eagles went up by a score of 20-13, the
Right.
Browns were driving, but they
Yes.
had a big penalty at the end of the drive. But instead of going for it on fourth down, Kevin Stefanski elected to kick a field goal to make it 20-16. Now I
I
know he
saw
has,
that too. Yeah, yeah.
he has faith in the defense. I understand. You have Miles Garrett. You have one of the best. You probably have the best defensive player in the National Football League. However, you have Jalen Hurts throwing a big pass right before right after the 2-minute warning, which is downfield, which basically killed the Browns. So I have to question the fact that Stefanski didn't go for it on fourth down to try and get a touchdown. instead of going for a field goal, which basically told me that Stefanski was just giving up at that point. I really had to question that call, that decision. I know some Cleveland Browns fans are saying, "Look, we have a great defense. All you have to do is stop them." But I didn't have any confidence that the Browns would be able to do that,
Yeah.
and instead, the Browns end up losing 20-16. Now, at the end of the game, Nick Sirianni, the coach, decided to go at it with fans, and I guess from what I've heard, that apparently in a meeting with his team, they want Nick Sirianni to show more emotion. I don't know if that was the area to do it, though, right after your
No.
game and get it with the fans. And then what happened after that is that he had his kids with him at the press conference. Now, he's done that before, Stephen. Let us not forget about that. But at the same time, when you're winning and you have your kids with you, it's seen as cute. It's seen as eccentric. It's seen as, oh yeah, look at the coach's kids. It's great. When you're just barely defeat the Browns and you're not having the best season that everybody thinks you should have, and you also
Yeah.
go after it with fans, you're seeing, and that was accused by the media of using his kids as human shields.
Yeah.
So, I don't have a problem with a coach bringing his kids up, especially if he's done it before.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I don't think that you should be going after fans, especially if you just barely win over the
Yeah.
lowly Cleveland Browns. Yeah, your team says, yeah, show them more emotion. I don't think that's the best place to do it.
No, not at all. And I happen to be like I said earlier, I happen to be in the vicinity of Philadelphia area, and 94 not WIP, which is the flagship station for Eagles,
Yep.
have been highly, highly critical. And of course, Sirianni goes on to their show. I think it was yesterday as well. But yeah, I couldn't help but think that Sirianni's behavior was just clownish and childish, and I just cannot believe the behavior. And then the fans are flabbergasted because, like you said, the expectations have fallen short. If you remember last year, they beat the Chiefs on a Monday night, and they were flying high. And then Sirianni was saying some crazy stuff in the post game while he was walking back into the tunnel. I don't know if he was directed towards the Chiefs fan, but he said something very, very loud and clear. And from that point on, I think the Eagles have been kind of on a nosedive in terms of the performance itself. The record certainly doesn't really match the talent that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no question Sirianni is deserving all the criticism because they believe that even with Kellen Moore as the OC, people believe that Sirianni is still has his hands on the offense and just forcing Moore to call his plays and interjecting himself, which unfortunately, which part of the reason to keep him around for this year, and I believe in a discussion with owner Jeffrey Lurie, was that he gave up calling plays, and that's why they made a wholesale change at both offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, which is Vic Fangio, the longtime veteran. So again, I don't want to use your Browns as some sort of a punching bag, but
No, they
to
just
act, yeah, I know, but to act like defiantly, if not stupidly, by Nick Sirianni kind of shows that Sirianni is his antics is running short, or at least getting thin within the Philly media members and also the fans. And I couldn't help but think that bringing your own child a post game was something that he was actually planning. Now, planning, or maybe he was being a little bit cunning, using his kids as a way of sort of and I hate to say this, but kind of use it as a shield to ask maybe a less hard questions of sorts. And I understand that he's done it before, but I think the overall sentiment of the media here is that you bringing your child as a shield following a pathetic victory over lowly Browns doesn't do justice for his kids and his stuff like that. So, Sirianni, just probably used up all of his cards right now, and from this point on, Ken, if you're Eagles fan, media members or the Eagles fans, Sirianni just really opened himself up to more scrutiny moving forward. As long as the results come in, yeah, you'll get the benefit of the doubt. But you can no longer use your kids again in such manners that people will start questioning more and more about. Is he using his kids for shielding, or maybe he's a guy who's I hate to say this, but like has some serious problems with like child abuse and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I did, like I said, you win, you're 11-1, you go to the NFC Championship, you're seen as someone that you're a winner, and this behavior is excused. But when you have a team that's underachieving right now, and as I mentioned, just barely defeats the Browns, and look, you can use them as a punching bag. You can do that because I use them myself as a punching bag. So I just think that you just barely get the job done against the Browns. It's a team that the Eagles should have beaten, especially coming off a bye week, Steven. You expect a better effort. So behavior like that is not seen as eccentric, but just ridiculous. So I just feel that this Eagles still have a lot to prove, and the Browns, as far as I'm concerned, right now, they're still on track for a 1-16 season, and they're going to be. I think they're playing the Bengals this week in Cleveland. So
Cincinnati, in Cincinnati,
yeah. So here's a team that has had a good success against the Bengals in the past, but right now, with the way Deshaun Watson is playing, although I will, and a caveat, he did play better in the second half. Although Amari Cooper, interestingly enough, was secretly in the whole Devontae Adams news yesterday. Amari Cooper secretly was sent to the Buffalo Bills. So, but it doesn't really matter because Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper didn't really have any chemistry anyway, Steven. So that's one weapon that the Browns won't have against the Bengals on Sunday. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the team is basically in sell mode, even though they won't bench Deshaun Watson. So we'll see how it goes. But I've no confidence in the Browns right now. But as far as Nick Sirianni is concerned, he's got a lot to prove right now. And if he can turn things around, the kids will be seen as eccentric again. They'll be seen as cute again. Oh, look at them. He's got us back to the playoffs. But he's right now, at this point, Sirianni has pretty much used all his equity with the fans and the media, and he's got to turn things around before he's able to be seen as an A-plus coach in Philadelphia.
Yeah, not only he used his kids, but he was actually yelling expletives or whatever he was saying towards the fans after the game. It certainly does not make him a good look either. Somebody who is kind of teetering on the edge right now. I know owner Jeffrey Lurie wanted him to tone down his antics, and it was quoted as saying. So, this is going to be a real challenge for, Sirianni. The offense needs to start producing more points. They haven't scored a points at all in the first quarter. They're the only team that hasn't scored a point in the first quarter. You would think that my Bears would be so bad, but the Eagles are very bad when it comes to, offensively. And that's where Sirianni's, a calling card. So he has to really, really start producing, win more games, and then stop focusing on, getting on with the fans or, thinking about using his kids, maybe traveling on the road and bring them on the post game show, win or lose. So like I said, like you said, Ken, Sirianni's antics is running thin. His equity from the time he won the Super Bowl, winning the NFC 2 years ago, and then very, very close beat the Chiefs, and from there it's been an all nosedive. He has to really, really evaluate himself and really be a bit more and more self-critical if the Eagles are to take that next step. All right, let's move on to the Bears. My team, as I said earlier, it was a 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central time, very, very early. I don't think I've ever gotten up that early to watch the Bears game on TV. But it was a very nervous start. Jacksonville, because they're so used to playing in London. Their ownership has played there 11 times already. They also own Fulham, which is the mid-tier soccer club in the English Premier League. So this is their annual passage, and that they wanted to put on a good show for Londons and Londonites. And they got off to a real good start. And I thought that the Bears once again were plagued by a slow start. And I think the turning point of the game came in the first quarter. They threw Trevor Lawrence threw a pass to Gabe Davis for what appeared to be a touchdown, but the defender knocked it away, settled for three. And from that point on, after a bunch of punts and bad offensive sequences, and in the second quarter, I think that's where, once again, the Bears offense really took off again. And from there, they never looked back. And, after a slow start, Caleb Williams had himself a phenomenal game, throwing for 5 touchdowns. And, he didn't throw for 300 yards like he has done the last 2 weeks, the 2 times in 3 weeks like he did, including one against Carolina the week before. But, the yards be damned, but I'm just so happy that, Caleb hooked up with Cole Kmet twice. Mm-hmm. And then also veteran Keenan Allen, who has been kind of somewhat of an afterthought because of his heel injuries and because he's a veteran, also missed time and so forth, really got on the same page with, Caleb Williams for 2 critical touchdowns in the fourth quarter to help put the ball game away out of reach for the Bears. And, once again, Caleb took that nice step, reading defenses, just calling the audible at the line of scrimmage was really, really effective. And I think, as a Bears fan, we've never had an offense that was able to, kind of fully complement the defense. Defense was always, the calling card, making turnovers, scoring touchdowns, because the offense was just dog crap. And then when the offense was decent, like in 2013, Mark Trestman's first year, the defense has gotten so old, and then basically didn't have anybody who would replace Urlacher, Lance Briggs, and so forth. That was the first year after Brian Urlacher had retired, and the Bears never really figured it out, how to, fix their defense. And then from that point on, it's just basically, nothing but just mediocrity. And for me, I think finally we have a defense that really can rush the quarterback and create turnovers. But I hope that we finally have an offense that can score on its own, because I don't want to be hoping or relying on defense to come up with turnovers or score a touchdown at a crucial moment, because those things don't happen often, because the offense has to produce on its own. And I do hope that, what I saw in the last couple of weeks, when the offense has started to finally, take off, DeAndre Swift is running much better and more effectively. We have weapons now. So I just hope that, even with the bye week, the momentum don't stop. That's a problem with the Bears, coming off a bye, especially Matt Nagy era, because we always lost the game after bye week. But I hope that the momentum don't stop. I hope that they have figured it out, how to get the most out of Caleb and let him, develop in progress. And I understand that the naysayers look at, say, like a schedule and all that bullshit. But listen, you only have control over, what the schedule is given to you. And if you also talk about the Bears and 31 other teams, including your Browns, no one can really predict what the team is going to look like until you face them and actually kick off. Until then, you could have players injured and on IR or miss the season.
Mhm. Yep.
Injuries and all that kind of stuff always has a huge impact. You can only control so much. Whoever
Mhm.
you face that is in front of you, even with
Yep.
or without a quarterback,
Yep.
without key starters on both sides of the ball, you have no control over that. So you just have to go out there and beat the team that you're supposed to beat, and do so in a convincing manner, which is what the Bears have done in the last 2 weeks against two teams, Carolina and Jacksonville, that is combined 2-10. If you also look at the Rams, they're 1-4 as well, and then been struggling and been badly injured right now.
Okay.
So I'm very happy. Good time to have a bye week because of all the injuries that we have. And then following the bye, we have a very big game against the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels. People comparing Caleb versus Jaden Daniels.
Mhm.
It's nonsense. Developing a rookie quarterback is not on equal terms for each team. It's different. It's not linear. So, but they flexed the game to 3:25, which kind of sucks because it's going to be very very late by the time the game is over.
Right.
But
Right.
it's going to be a nationally televised game. I'm very excited. I finally like that the fact that people get to see the Bears, and that is a very decent team that is
Okay.
ready to compete. Sorry about that, Ken.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about you mentioned that you're very encouraged about the Bears, and you should be. I mean, Caleb Williams looks like he's finally coming into his own. Now, yes, he had a very bad start, and we were all wondering, he was going to have growing pains, but for him to come out the last couple of weeks, Stephen, and showing what he did,
Mm-hmm.
and I said that you really have to, Bears fans like you have to be encouraged by what you saw. And Caleb Williams is now doing the things that he, like a veteran quarterback, is doing, looking off receivers, looking off the defenders, being able to find it. And Mikey, and yes, he still has to work on his touch, but I think that's going to get there. And the fact that he was able to throw those 2 touchdowns to Komet and Allen, I think that's got to be encouraging. He's finding his receivers and getting his receivers involved. That's what you
Yes.
want to have from a good quarterback. That's what you wanted to see. And the interesting fact was Cole Kmet not only just scored those touchdowns, but he had to be the emergency long snapper for the
Thank you.
game. So that was very interesting to see. But I
Yep.
have Kmet. It just goes to show the versatility that he had. And as you mentioned, the Bears go into the bye week on a very positive note. You mentioned the fact that they get flexed now into the 325 or the 425 slot on CBS coming up in week 8 after their bye week. I think that's a very good sign because they're going to get national exposure, and also they're getting a better game in there because the Bengals were supposed to be in that slot and they got flexed out. So I think you're going to have to, and there's no way that the NFL was going to take the Cowboys and 49ers out of the Sunday Night Football slot. So I think a great fact that the Bears are going to be on at the 425 time slot, which gets better viewership actually than Sunday Night Football. It's the highest viewership of the week. So I would expect that Jim Nantz and Tony Romo and Tracy Wolfson will be at that game. And I have the feeling that, to be honest with you, the Bears have to be, and Bears fans. Now, granted, there's still a long way to go, but right now, going into the bye week and coming out, you've got to feel very encouraged about your team, Stephen, because right now the offense is hitting on all cylinders. The defense is making plays, and
Mhm.
yes, they weren't against the best teams. Granted, they were again playing Carolina and Jacksonville, and Trevor Lawrence right now looks very confused out there. He looked really but again, I think that had a lot to do with the scheme by the Chicago Bears were showing, because there were a lot of times when Trevor Lawrence looked like he did not know where he wanted to throw. And I think
Yeah.
that had a lot to do with the scheme that the Bears were showing. And
Mhm.
again, very encouraging sign if you're a Bears fan. And you're not going to win every game. You're not
No.
going to be able to play against every great. You're not going to have to be. You're going to have to beat the teams in front of you. And if they're able in Week 8 to win a game in the national time slot on CBS coming up in a couple of weeks, if they do that, Stephen, there's a whole lot of open doors coming down the line where the Jets and Giants are playing in prime time. And I'm sure if those two teams continue to play poorly, there's going to be one team that's going to be going in that slot, and that might be the Bears.
Yeah. Again, you can only deal with the team that's scheduled in front of you, and you know every week is a different opponent. Dealing with injuries and all that kind of stuff, and you catch a break here and there. There's no question about that. So, I won't look too far ahead, but looking into the Washington game, like I said, if the Bears win against Washington and Jaden Daniels, hopefully that the Bears can, keep on moving, because then it's Arizona and New England before they finally have their first divisional game against the Green Bay Packers. And maybe that Green Bay game could be flexed into Sunday night and so forth. But we'll see when we get there. So I'm very, very encouraged, and I hope that the momentum doesn't stop just because we have a bye. And hopefully the players get rested and ready to go, the rest of the way. So, all right, let's talk about one other game, and then the that has been garnering so much attention. It is the Dallas Cowboys. The Lions really, kicked their ass, 47-9. Probably the worst loss in that stadium history. And for the franchise, as a Bears fan, I remember, the 85 Bears went to Dallas and just completely kicked the Cowboys' ass 44-0, which is probably the worst loss in their history. And I know Mike Ditka was very, very apologetic for, doing that against his former mentor, Coach, Landry.
Tom Landry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it came very, very close, and I thought, I did tweet saying like that they're going to put a 50 burger and then just take out their revenge because of the John Skipper offensive line touchdown that got called back, and then eventually ended up losing that ball game. That was a controversial call that was toward the end of the December that really, thankfully, didn't put too much dent into their postseason. But unfortunately, that game, because they lost in such a controversial manner, they lost the home field advantage, which went to San Francisco, and we know that they went to San Francisco and blew a lead because of the questionable fourth down decisions by Dan Campbell and so forth. But this game happened to be Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, GM, president, all everything person. And then, he was treated to such a bad game. It's really, really funny, because I know I've lived in Dallas for a couple of years, and listen to this man, who couldn't resist a spotlight. He's like one of those, social media influencers who has to be in front of a camera or can't keep his, face away from a microphone or anything, whenever people wants to ask. And I think media has kind of fed into his ego for, for a good 3 decades or so. He went on to, 105.3 The Fan, which is a flagship station, Sean and RJ, which is a morning show, 5:30 to 10 local time, and they do the interview with Jerry Jones on Monday morning. So literally the day after the game, and got a little bit really, really tense. And I'm going to play a clip here for this one from your site, if you don't mind. Here we go.
It's not coming through.
Oh, sorry about that.
I'm not hearing it.
Okay, I apologize there. Maybe my PC is not allowing me to log into the what do you call it, the X. So, but if you go to if you go to Ken's website here, Awful Announcing, basically he is as quoted as saying, you know, your job isn't let me go over all the reasons that I did something. That is not your job. I'll get somebody else to ask these questions. I'm not kidding. So basically, he's gone full Kim Jong Il communist style dictator, wanting wanting the guys who work in media to bow down and ask questions that only seem suitable. Basically, he's like Donald Trump during media outlets, and then blaming people in media for all the transgressions that he's had. Okay, and it is almost funny because first of all, 105.3 The Fan is an Odyssey station, which Jerry Jones is not the owner,
Right.
first and foremost. Now, Dan Snyder, when he owned the Washington Redskins / Commanders, he owned two radio stations in the DMV area. I think it's Sports Talk 980, and there's one other station, maybe down in Richmond or somewhere else, where they carried the Redskins game. And then he would always listen to the station and just kind of hear what he has to say, and get really get such a thin-skinned man. Look, Jerry Jones, again, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, this is a man who enjoys and thrives being in a spotlight. He can't help himself. And yet somehow, when push came to shove, Sean and RJ, Sean Sharif and RJ Choppy. By the way, RJ Choppy was on the Dan Patrick show getting interviewed today. So if you want to go catch what they had to say, please do so. But Ken, I gotta say, Jerry Jones's antics is really worn thin. Again, it's kind of serious, it's similar to what we were discussing with Nick Sirianni earlier. And
Well,
I know the fans are fed up down there, and I think a lot of the fans probably gave up on the Cowboys the moment when the playoff against the Packers, they were completely trashed by 9-8 Packers from the get go, and they were never in the game. And I think that was when people were done with the Cowboys. The Cowboys basically did nothing. Jerry Jones blamed about not having enough money to sign Derrick Henry, who, by the way, Baltimore came and trashed them in AT&T Stadium. So what do you make of Jerry Jones and people like him who has to always think that they're above the law, or there's people beneath him who has to kind of follow his rules, and et cetera, et cetera?
Well, Jerry is someone who is a provocateur. He always has been. The big difference between him and Nick Sirianni is the fact that Jerry Jones owns the team, so there's no way that he can be fired. He's in his 80s. He wants to win, but he makes bad. Ever since he got rid of Jimmy Johnson after winning the third Super Bowl. I mean, yes, they won the Super Bowl with Barry Switzer the following year after he got rid of Jimmy Johnson, but it hasn't been the same since. The Cowboys have done a precipitous fall. He's made bad decisions. We'll see how it goes with Dak Prescott after he's signing him to a huge contract this year. Am I one of the fans who loves seeing the Cowboys fall? Yes, I do.
Yeah, so am I. And it's because all of it is because of Jerry Jones and his out of touchness, and then the fact that he has to do all of this by himself. He's the GM and he's the team president and all of this, and everything that he says and does, it is all coming back to him. There's no one else he can put a blame on.
Yeah, there's no one, and you know what? His family is not going to stop him. It's all, and it's kind of similar to what the Patriots have up here in New England, Stephen. It's a family-run business. You have Stephen Jones, who's there, who's probably going to take over the team when Jerry Jones decides to hang it up or pass away, whichever comes first. You have his daughter running the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. You have it's all the family-run business. I mean, and as long as Jerry is there and wants to be the GM, it's going to be basically his way or the highway, and he's going to make these statements on radio whether he likes it or not. And he's by him threatening, he knows what he's doing, Steven. He's threatening the Dallas radio host because he knows it's going to get play in the media. He knows that it's going to get played. He knows it's going to be on every single TV station. He knows it's going to be get great airplay in Dallas. He knows it's going to be played on First Take on ESPN. He knows he's going to get reaction on the Dan Patrick Show. He knows Colin Cowherd is going to be talking about it. He knows that Mike Florio is going to mention it on Pro Football Talk. He's a smart man. And you know what? Granted, he's a very terrible GM, but he's very media savvy. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's going to keep the Cowboys in play. He knows he's going to get the Cowboys media national attention because that's what he wants. He doesn't care about the publicity, whether it looks bad or not. Jerry Jones just wants to continue. We're talking about him, Steven. We're talking about him. We don't have the reach of First Take, but he's done his job because Jerry Jones is a provocateur. That's the way he loves to do it. And you know what? He's done his job by getting himself into the media, and he's getting himself talked about here on practically every show.
Absolutely. It's he just can't help himself. It's all about him.
Yeah, it is.
And it's unfortunate that the Cowboys fans have to deal with it. And it's going to be very, very interesting. I think there's a real backlash, not just from the fans itself, but even from the Dallas media members who have known him, who have done business with him, who's spoken and interviewed him many, many years, and they're all coming after him to a degree. So I'm very, very curious to see if this is a legitimate Cold War between Jones versus the local media, even the national media, and how much of a backlash will this lead to the fans giving up on the Cowboys? And will we see a lot of empty seats at the AT&T Stadium, or maybe the Cowboys fans sell off their ticket to a visiting team, and then we're going to see maybe half of it is mostly visiting teams fan versus the Cowboys fans and so forth. So this is something worth following moving forward, because this is not going to last forever.
Yeah, though, Steven, the only way the Cowboys fans are going to stop going, or if the Cowboys are going to be like 0-15, 0-17, or 0-18 for 3 seasons straight or 4 seasons straight, because the Cowboys, this is like the Cowboys tickets are like willed into families. I mean, they're there's a waiting list for season tickets in AT&T Stadium, Steven. So it's going to take a long time for that fan base to finally come to be smart enough to say, hey, let's just stop going to games, because Jerry Jones has made basically his own Taj Mahal. He's made the Jones Mahal out in Arlington, Steven.
Yeah.
And he's made it such a fan-friendly experience over there that the fans, I don't think the fans know to be honest with you, I really don't think the fans know what's going on over there. I think they just go for just to be seen, or just for the experience to sit at that stadium, and they see that big, huge screen on the top of the stadium. I just don't think that they just really understand what's going. I'm not calling them stupid. Well, maybe I am, but I'm just saying that the fans just go there just just for the experience of being at a Dallas Cowboys game, and I don't think they care about whether the Cowboys win or lose. I think the real fans are watching on TV, Steven, and I think that right now. It's going to take a long stretch of the Cowboys having losing seasons. As long as they have a winning season, those fans are going to keep going. That's the thing. I think the diehard fan, maybe the diehard fan goes to 1 or 2 games a season, but those fans who go almost every week, Steven, those season ticket holders, they're very rich. They like being seen on television. They like the whole thing. They like having lobster served to them in the beautiful people seats. And I think that's who the Jones family is catering to those rich people who go to pay thousands and dollars to go to sit in those great luxury seats and the luxury boxes, Steven. So
Yeah.
the real fans have been priced out.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens. This type of behavior. If he keeps on doubling down, sure, go ahead. He just keeps on, digging a hole for himself, and there is no bottom. And then the only thing that's going to happen is he's going to keep on alienating, the fan base there. And I'll be very, very curious. Just how far will the fans go to, voice their displeasure, fire Jerry, the GM, signage, in and out of the stadium, social media movements. We'll see just how much of a, blowback can fans can give it to Jerry and his family, and how much can he take it, before he continues to dig deeper and just continue to, have a war of words with the media and even the fans who've had enough of his antics moving forward. All right, so let's go. Let's look at the Major League Baseball playoffs right now, and the Dodgers and the Mets split to a 1-1 series so far. Game 3 is ongoing tonight in Game 3 in New York right now, and then the Yankees versus the Guardians. So far, the Yankees have the upper hand. They are leading the series 2-0 after winning their first 2 games in New York. They go to play them in now the next 2 at least in Cleveland. And so far, Ken, I will say that the National League, Game 5 last Friday, Yu Darvish versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and really had a real good pitching battle. The Dodgers managed to win 2-0 on just 2 solo home runs, and and then on Sunday immediately they really teed off on the Mets pitcher, Kodai Senga, who barely pitched at all this year because of all the injuries that he had to do with, and he didn't have anything going in the barely lasted 2 innings. 9-0 the Dodgers, and then the very next day in an afternoon game, which is kind of weird, unfortunately, for many of us, who are still at work. The Mets teed off and then hang on to win 7-3, 1-1 series game so far right now. Can give me your thoughts on the NL CS and also ALCS in your own perspective.
Well, right now the Dodgers lead the Mets 2-0 as they're in the 3rd inning right now.
Oh, okay.
Field. So we'll see how that goes. It could have been much worse, but there was a great catch out in left center field on a sliding catch that the Mets prevented more runs by the Dodgers. They had some base runners on, but I'll be honest with you. I think this is the Dodgers series to lose. I know the Mets fans don't want to hear that. I pick on the Mets a lot on X, calling them Metsy, but they are definitely not Metsy this year. They've had a great season. Dodgers, they're pitching. Let's just put it this way: when they were down 2-1 against the Padres, after they were getting beat up, I thought that the Dodgers were done. I really had to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I thought you just provoked the Padres and their fan base, and I thought it was done too. So
yeah, but then the Dodgers pitching staff shut out the Padres for 34 straight innings, and that was just amazing. And they kept that streak going into
Game 2, 2 days ago before they got shellacked, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I'll say this, that the Dodgers, I think, are the better team against the Mets. They should advance, even though Shohei Ohtani hasn't really produced. He doesn't produce with men off base, with nobody on base. He has produced with men on base. But it's really been the other players on the Dodgers. You have Hernandez, you've got Mookie Betts, you've got other players that are coming in. It just goes to show that they are just not just Shohei Ohtani. They also have a very good pitching staff. The bullpen is going well. Dave Roberts, who has criticized before for his managing, has been pushing all the right buttons ever since Game 4. Ever since Game 3 of the National League Division Series against San Diego. So, and right now they're leading 2-0. So we'll see how that goes for the rest of tonight's game. But I think the Dodgers should win this series. I know the
Mhm.
Mets fans are feeling very confident. They said, let's just win one game in Los Angeles, and then we can go to Citi Field and see what happens. But to be honest with you, if the Dodgers can keep this going, I don't think this series is going to come back to Los Angeles. I think they can sweep it out here, but let's see how this game goes. As far as the ALCS goes, Steven, the Cleveland Guardians are overmatched. The Yankees are a much better team, even though the Yankees have played down to the competition the last couple of games. They have not gotten timely hitting. They have
Right.
uh,
Aaron Judge has been struggling quite a bit too.
Aaron Judge finally hit a home run last night. We also had last night where the Guardians had many chances to try and get runs in. They couldn't get the
Yeah.
job done. They just couldn't get a clutch hit. Um, but if the and it's a sign of a good team when you don't play your best games and you still manage to win. And that's what the Yankees are doing. So right now it's a collision course for the Yankees and Dodgers, which Fox absolutely wants and Major League Baseball wants. They
Right.
have the top two. They would have the top two markets. I'm kind of hoping that the Cleveland Guardians get in.
Yep.
But I'll be honest with you, it's probably looking right now, unless the Yankees have a huge collapse, that the Yankees will probably sweep the Cleveland in 4 games. And I do think that the Dodgers, if they can win tonight, will win the series in 5 against the Mets. So, what about you?
Okay. National League, I think the Dodgers still have a questionable pitching. The performance by Yamamoto in Game 5, going up against his elder countryman Yu Darvish and outpitching him, was very, very encouraging. Uh, I think Yamamoto will pitch tomorrow or Game 5, depending on the situation. So the Dodgers have to really, really, score runs, get quality pitching. I know Jack Flaherty, Game 1, he went 7 innings. That was a huge one. I
That
think
was
the
big.
Dodgers bullpen, when they added Garrett Crochet from the White Sox, that was a huge game changer. Crochet has been great. The closer, Tierhan, has been also great as well. So you have to really get to those two guys with the lead and make sure that hopefully the bullpen holds up their end of the bargain as well. So it is going to be very, very huge for the Dodgers to play with the lead and get to the bullpen, or even go with the make sure that they have enough pitching in their arsenal to get past the Mets. And I do believe that if this happens, I will say Game 5 or Game 6. I think it will be the Dodgers to lose in this series. As far as the American League game, the Guardians had their hands full against the Tigers. They almost came close to losing. I like the Guardians. I think they have a very, very good hitters, especially Ramirez and the Naylor brothers. And then of course Stephen Kwan, the Taiwanese player with exceptional hitting skills. So far, they haven't been able to put it together. They committed some bonehead errors on base in Game 2 that has led to runs. I think for Cleveland, tomorrow's everything. You got to win Game 3 to have any hopes. If you get blasted or if you lose, tomorrow night, then I believe it's going to be a sweep for the Yankees in American League Championship Series. And then they're the ones who are going to be sitting back, relaxed, and just waiting for whether they'll face the Mets in the Subway Series or they're going to have to travel to Los Angeles to play the Dodgers in the World Series. So this is going to be a very, very interesting series. I'm going to definitely keep a close eye on the NLCS, obviously, with Ohtani's presence. And then tomorrow, of course, the American League goes to Cleveland. Again, Game 3, this is it for Cleveland. They have to approach it like it's Game 7. Score, any way possible. Get it to Emmanuel Clase for the lead, and then make sure that Clase hopefully is able to pitch lights out and give them Game 3, and then from them, I think then anything can possibly happen. But if it's a Game 3 Yankees win, I think it's a sweep, and it's going to be a very short one for Cleveland in this ALCS game.
Yeah, right. I agree with that, Steven. Right now, the Mets have the bases loaded right now against the Dodgers. So there's
How many
one out,
outs right now?
and
Okay.
so we'll see if the Mets can get any runs here, or if they hit into a double play and get out of the inning.
Okay.
It's up to the Dodgers right now, but we'll see how that goes. But I'll be honest with you. I think, like I said, if the Dodgers can get out of this and get out of the game 3 here with the win, I think it's pretty much smooth sailing for them the rest of the way. And like I said, I really can't see I'd like to see the Guardians win game 3, but right now, I don't see that happening. The Yankees pitching is finally coming together, and we'll see if they can sweep the Guardians. I don't want that to happen, but my heart said yes. My heart says no.
Mhm. Well,
So
Ken, I apologize for cutting it short. I'm gonna go out to dinner for with the
sure,
clients
you
waiting
gotta go.
outside. So I want to thank everybody for joining us on this live stream once again. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as you can see there, youtube.com/@thanksbites. By the way, that is the same as Ken's X handle on Twitter. You could follow Ken and the awful announcing and their outstanding work as well. You could find me on Twitter or X at Asian Sports Fan One on X, and I'm very very sorry. We know we could have talked about the WNBA, the NFL trade, and then also the Maurizio Pochettino's USMNT debut, the last 2 games, and so forth. But we'll save that for hopefully next week, and I'll be back in town, and hopefully we'll have a much better schedule for us to do the live stream where we can talk about not just the NFL, but also we'll also have a probably better idea who's going to be in the World Series by the time next show comes around. So, folks, thank you very much for joining us once again. I am Stephen Nagishi along with Ken Feng, and we thank you, and we hope you have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to having you on next time on the Double A Team Podcast live stream edition. Ken, thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
And next week we have a special guest. I won't say who it is, but we do have a special coming up next week. More details coming up on our social media feeds. Have a good night, everyone.